In this video, I'll be turning these thrifted storage containers into useful home decor. Let's get started. I picked up this faux reptile storage box at the thrift store for $3. The inside is a little bit worn, but it's fine for what I'm going to be using it for. I cleaned the inside and the outside with a baby wipe and some alcohol just to make sure it was good and clean. I want to keep the hardware with the original finish on it, so I removed that and used my thrifted contact paper to protect the inside so I didn't get paint on it. Then I gave it several coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color Mineral. After the paint is completely dry, I have picked out a couple of transfers that I wanted to try on, and I decided to go with this one. This is from Redesign with Prima, and it's the Sunflower Farms transfer. Once the transfer is adhered, then you just simply take the carrier sheet and burnish it down. Here I'm trying to decide what color I want the trim on the box to be, because I liked the dark trim, but in the end I decided to go lighter. I decided on the Old White by Annie Sloan paint to paint the trim and the bottom. Because I was going light over dark, it took 3 coats to get this dark color covered. Adding the contact paper really did help with me not making a mess on that velvet. After getting the hardware replaced, I went over it with a coat of Fusion Clear Wax. This will seal in the transfer and the chalk paint. I brush it on and then use a microfiber cloth to wipe off the excess. I really appreciate hearing from you, so please leave me a comment and let me know what types of makeovers you like best. And now this project is done. Here are the before and the after. I think it came out great. I found this little tower of wooden boxes at the thrift store for $2.25, and even though it was very dirty and kind of disgusting, I picked it up anyway. I knew I could find a use for it. First, I removed the labels and attempted to remove the paper chickens from the front. I removed as much of the paper as possible and then sprayed it with some water to help loosen some of the paper, and then I used my paint scraper to remove as much as possible. I think when I washed the box I used too much water and it caused the wood pieces to split, so I used some wood glue to repair those spots. And then I weighted it down with some heavy cans to hold it in place while it dried. I didn't care for the heart cutout in the top, so I am filling that in with air dry clay and scraping off the excess so I can add a mold from this Redesign Curio Trinkets set. I've added some cornstarch to the 2 molds that I want to try out, and then I press the air dry clay into the mold and scrape off the excess with my scraper. And then peel it out by turning it upside down and gently bending it out. I took the drawers outside and used my orbital sander to remove the rest of the paper, and now I'm just giving it a little sanding throughout to even out the surface. And now I'm just cleaning off the dust with a wet paper towel. And I'm giving it 1 coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. Since it was already black, 1 coat was all it took. Once the molds were dry, I gave those a coat of ink chalk paint as well. Once the clay on the box was dry, I sanded it smooth and then gave it a coat of the black paint. This is the mold I decided to use, and I used Tite Bond Quick and Thick to glue it to the box. I obviously used too much glue and made more cleanup for myself. Here I'm finding the center of each drawer so I can add a knob. I just drilled a hole in the center that was the exact size as the screw, and these little jewelry box knobs fit perfectly. I'm sealing the entire box with Jolie brown finishing wax, brushing it on with my wax brush, and then wiping it off with a cloth. Here I'm adding a little more paint to the mold since some of the white was still showing through, and I'm touching up the areas where the glue seeped out. I'm going to now add a couple of these knobs to the top of the box so I can use it as a phone holder. This time I used some Gorilla Glue to glue them in place, no screws. I used almost the right amount of glue this time, and only a tiny bit seeped out that I needed to clean up with a knife. So here is the original wooden box and my new version. I really love how this box turned out and how useful it is. I picked up these brand new cardboard storage boxes at the thrift store. The small one was $1.50 and the large one was $2.35. Both of the boxes are beautiful just the way they are, but I just wanted to add a little something to them. Next, I painted them both with Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color drop cloth. I'm going to be adding this decoupage paper to the tops of both boxes. This is from Roycycled papers, and I am just cutting out the sections that I want for the tops of each box. I'm using Liquitex matte medium to glue down my papers, but you could use Mod Podge or white glue or whatever you have on hand. I'm misting the paper just a little bit to expand the fibers, and then I'm starting on one end with the glue and then just working my way up in sections to the top. The plastic baggie helps smooth out the paper without tearing it. Here I'm cutting out the section for the top of the second box, and on this one I've decided not to go over the back of the box, which was a very good decision in hindsight. And now I'm going to repeat the decoupage steps that I did on the first box. Once the glue had completely dried, I used my finger sander around the edges in a downward motion to remove the excess paper. Because the boxes were only cardboard, this process actually did more damage that I needed to fix later. The decoupage papers need to be sealed, so I've covered both boxes, just the paper, with a matte polyurethane that I keep handy in this little squeeze bottle. Because the box has a crease in the back where the lid lifts up, the paper didn't stick very well. So I removed the loose paper and touched it up with some paint, and I got that white line there from earlier painting the box and then leaving the lid open so that the paint wouldn't seal the box shut, and then because of the crease I got that line. But since this box is not for resale and the white paint line is in the back of the box, it's totally fine with me. One of my mottos is done is better than perfect. Now that the papers are complete and sealed, it's time to finish the box with a coat of clear finishing wax. I actually wanted the box to be a little bit darker to blend more with the paper, but I didn't feel like repainting it, so I chose to go over it with a dark finishing wax. I think I would have liked it better had I repainted it. I ran out of the Jolie clear finishing wax, so I moved on to this Fusion wax, and I actually like this one better. It's creamier and I don't have to rub as hard to move it around, and my arm doesn't get as tired. I'm going to be using these boxes to store my charging cables. First, I'm bundling them up with these little silicone cable ties. And I got these Velcro labels to attach to them to identify what they are. And then I can store all the cables in these little clear storage boxes that fit perfectly inside. I've linked all of these Amazon products in the description below. Here are the boxes before and the stacking boxes after. Here's one more look at today's projects. Let me know which is your favorite in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.